Oh, so today we start with the sagas. So it's a new chapter of classical mythology. Especially, we are now uh, starting to study Greek sagas, but they will be very influential, as usual, onto Roman literature and Etruscan culture and art. So, but let's remember what we intend for sagas. So, do you remember we did in class the distinction in between a true myth or myth proper that's used for stories that primarily concern with gods and the relation with humans with them. Then we said that a saga or legend is, yes, faithful with many parts of imagination, but has some roots in historical facts. And it's focusing many times on the adventures of a hero. A folk tale is primarily to entertain, if you remember. Then a group of scholars called the structuralists, if you remember, were focusing especially the first one, so Walter Burkert, on the historical dimension of myths. So he was saying that classical myths have an historical dimension and especially successive layers in its development. So he was trying to find an order, a structure, a way to study myths in all the historical layers. So, because the original tale for sure has been modified during time to fit the cultural needs of the time of its retelling. So, this was less true according to Burkert, especially for sacred myths with sacred status, because they will remain crystallized, we can say. So, but the structure of all these traditional tales cannot be discovered. So all these layers without taking into account the cultural and historical dimensions, and especially because these stories are created by humans and by the culture, the society within these stories were formed. So they had to feed the expectations of both the teller and the audience. So let's see Burkett's synthesis of this structuralist view and historical viewpoint. He gave different main points. So, for example, that myth belongs to a more general class of traditional tales. Then the identification of a traditional tale is to be found in a structure of sense that it's in the tale itself, so all the layers we said before. These structures are founded on biological and cultural programs. And then finally, and this is connected to the historical dimension, is myth is a tale with a secondary partial references that it's important because it's something of collective importance, so connected to societies. So this thesis given by Burkert and the structuralists allow flexibility in exploring the classical myths. And so is for sagas, because we have to take in account the historical development of myths and of the culture where these myths were told. Then, if you remember, in the analysis of the forms of myth in the Greek culture, we talked about legends, so sagas, and these are myths that were viewed by modern scholars more than the ancient Greeks as embodying divine and timeless truths, the true myths. On the other side, legends or sagas, we can call with both names, had something historical, were quasi-historical. So, for example, the story of the Trojan War, generally by the Greeks, was regarded as something really happened, and also the heroes and the heroines were believed as actually to have actually lived. So with this map of Greece, we can see the different places where saga or legends were told, so came into life, and having some sort of basis in history, because they were grouped in cycles, so clusters of legends concerning families, tribes, cities, an area of Greece, and a special character, in this case a hero, so connected to real places. And these stories were born in connection with late Bronze Age communities that flourish, as you remember, in between 1600s and 1100s BCE, so more or less the Mycenaean age. If you want to review this, you can review the second chapter of the book, even if on the online summary, for the historical background and chronology of this early Greek world. So the richest of the communities was Mycenae in this period, as you remember. And other centers of the Peloponnesus had cycles of sagas, as Argos and Sparta. But then, in other parts of Greece, as in the mainland, where the chief centers were Athens and Thebes, other cycles of sagas developed. Outside the Greek mainland, important sagas are connected for sure with Troy and with Crete too. The saga of Odysseus is unique in itself because it is extended very far outside the Mycenaean world, and it's incorporating, as we said before, many folk tales. So is a little bit different from the sagas we are going to analyze now. But so let's start with Thebes, the Theban Saga. The Theban Saga is a collection of legends focusing on important events around the founding of the city of Thebes. Thebes is and was a major city in the region of Boeotia in the mainland of Greece. It contains stories of the foundation of the city, but also about the different kings of Thebes and their families, so their descendants. So let's see the very beginning. The first myth is about the foundation of Thebes, and everything started when Zeus took the form of a bull, if you remember, kidnapping Europa. She was a daughter of a king in Phoenicia, in Tyre, and took Europa to Crete. There she gave birth to Minos. So Minos was the son of Zeus to an Europa, and Minos, as we said before, became the first king of Crete. Then let's say that we have now Europa's brother, that's the connection, Cadmus, that went to look for her in Greece and was instructed by the oracle of Delphi not to go on with the search, but to follow a cow until she lay down. So there he had to found a new city. The cow led Cadmus to the place, and this place was in Beotia, where he founded the new city, calling it from his name Cadmeia. Then later this city will be known as Thebes. But the companions of Cadmus that were looking for water for completing the ceremony of sacrificing the cow to Athena killed the serpent, child of Ares, that guarded the spring. The serpent killed Cadmus' men, but was itself killed by Cadmus, who obeyed then Athena, sowing the teeth of the serpent, the dragon. From the teeth sprang out armed men who fought and killed each other until only 5 survived. This is the origin of the noble families of Thebes, because from these 5 survivors, these noble families descended. And they were called Spartoi, so literally meaning sown man. In penance for killing the serpent, Cadmus served Ares, do you remember, father of the serpent, for a year, and was given Harmonia, daughter of Ares and Aphrodite, as wife. Cadmus gave her a wedding gift that was a necklace made by Hephaestus. They had 4 daughters that were Aino, Semele, Autonoi, and Agave. So we have heard about Semele and Agave in the classes before. In fact, Semele was mother of Dionysus, and Agave, if you remember, we mentioned her in the Bacchae as mother of Pentheus. Cadmus introduced writing and other forms of art and civilization at Thebes, and after a long reign, he and Harmonia left Thebes to go to Illyria, and they were changed into harmless serpents. They had a metamorphosis. Pentheus, son of Agave, succeeded his grandfather Cadmus. Do you remember the story of Pentheus? And at his death, Labdacus founded a new dynasty in Thebes. When he dies, Lycus, son of one of the Spartoi, became regent of the infant Laius, the son of Labdacus. The niece of Lycus was Antiope. Zeus made her the mother of the twins Amphion and Zetus. They were brought up by a shepherd, as many young princes of gods, if you remember, and Antiope was imprisoned by Lycus and his wife Dirce. Now comes the tragedy. Antiope escaped and after a long time was recognized by her sons Amphion and Zetus, who then killed Lycus and tied Dirce to the horns of a bull who dragged her to death. This is a very famous sculpture in the Museum of Naples called the Farnese Bull, where we can see the scene of the martyrdom, the horrible murder of Dirce from Amphion and Zetus, avenging the treatment given to their mother. So then the two boys, the two brothers, became rulers of Thebes and sent Laius, the infant child, if you remember, into exile. Now Laius, for sure, was grown up as the two brothers. They built walls for the city, but it's very interesting because the stones for the walls were moved into place by the sacred music of the lyre, played by Amphion. Amphion married Niobe, and you have to remember in the classes on Artemis and Apollo that Niobe was punished with the killing of her children by Artemis and Apollo because she offended their mother. And Zetus married Thebe, from whom the city changed the name from Cadmeia to Thebes. So, in the next video, the second part on the Theban Saga. Ciao ragazzi, ciao!